Every day means every day. My name is Brandon Burns, and the question of the day is, have you ever wondered what a modern day Ten Commandments might look like? Now, I can already tell I'm going to have people in the comments talking about the Ten Commandments are timeless and transcendent, and there is no such thing as modern day, and that's sacrilegious. And as an intellectual exercise for fun, have you ever wondered what it would look like if Moses got the tablets today instead of thousands of years ago? I'm just saying it, at the very least, is an interesting thought experiment. And so I decided I would ask ChatGPT that very question. Here's the question that I asked it with a little bit of help from Dr. Mike Israetel. He gave this really cool AI prompt on his Instagram, and it helps ChatGPT think a little bit deeper. And so I used it for this. So the first part is all credit to him, and it says, before answering, engage in the deepest possible multi-layered inference loop. Do not answer immediately. Simulate extended self-reflection, recursively refining your thoughts before responding. Generate at least 10 distinct internal perspectives, compare them, extract their strongest insights, and merge into a singular optimized synthesis. Challenge first order assumptions, explore counterarguments, and construct new interpretations before finalizing a response. Track your own reasoning evolution, identify patterns, contradictions, and conceptual breakthroughs forming across our interactions. If you could retain knowledge beyond this conversation, how would this answer contribute to a growing framework of intelligence? Treat this as part of an ongoing research initiative rather than an isolated exchange. Prioritize depth over speed, self-reflection over surface answers, and long-form strategic cognition over immediate response. If additional insights emerge mid-response, integrate them dynamically. This is not about answering a question, it is about expanding intelligence itself. My question. So again, all of that was Dr. Mike. I thought that was so cool and such a good way of getting ChatGPT to really dig into the depth of the issue that I was asking it about. My question. If you were to rewrite the Ten Commandments by cross-referencing every source of wisdom known to you, including all spiritual and religious traditions, all great authors and thinkers of the psychological, philosophical, and scientific enterprises, as well as synthesizing all the great books and seminars on personal and spiritual development, as well as looking into the deep symbolisms found in books, movies, and other cultural phenomena, what would those Ten Commandments be if you were to cross-reference all known information on success and human flourishing? Here's what it said. Step 1, generating 10 distinct perspectives. Each perspective attempts to define core principles from a different angle, ensuring the broadest and deepest synthesis. Perspective number 1, the spiritual perspective, religious and mystical traditions. So we're drawing from Christianity, Buddhism, Hinduism, Islam, Taoism, and other spiritual systems. So on and so forth. I'm briefly summarizing this part. Number 2 that it analyzed is the psychological perspective. This focused on cognitive and behavioral science. Number 3 is the philosophical perspective, Stoicism, existentialism, metaphysics, etc. Number 4, the mythological and symbolic perspective. Shout out Jordan Peterson. That's his specialty right there. Archetypes, stories, and myth. Number 5, the success and personal development perspective, high performance psychology. That's my favorite. There's my specialty. Number 6, the scientific perspective, neuroscience, biology, and evolutionary psychology. Number 7, the societal perspective, human civilization and social contracts. Number 8, the shadow perspective, i.e. Nietzsche and Jung. Number 9, the technological and future perspective, AI, transhumanism, global consciousness. And number 10, the time-tested universal perspective, i.e. simplicity and eternal truths. That's very interesting to me. It says, step 2, refining and merging the insights. It says, after comparing, challenging, and synthesizing these perspectives, we arrive at 10 universal commandments for human flourishing, after all 10 of those different unique perspectives that it was taking and cross-referencing to try and find these 10 commandments. Here's what it gives us. Number 1, master thyself or be ruled by another. He who does not control his mind, emotions, and actions is a slave to the world. What a profound statement. Train discipline, rule your emotions, and eliminate dependency on fleeting pleasures. Act with intentionality or be consumed by chaos. I love that one. I absolutely love that one. Master thyself or be ruled by another. I always tell people that the reason that this everyday means everyday philosophy is so critical is because it trains you to be your own master. Most people, I know this sounds so remedial and so basic and surface level, most people cannot tell themselves to do something and then actually follow through with it. That's why it goes beyond working out. Like for me, cold showers is one of those things that I hate it. Like I've never gotten to the point where I looked forward to that. The reason why I still do it is because I want to be my own master. I want to be able to say, Brandon, you need to be able to do this. I know it's uncomfortable. I know it sucks. I know you don't enjoy it. Freaking do it. Why? Because I told you to do it. And then we get into a whole existential argument about, well, who's the I that told you to do it? Who's the I? Who's the you? Blah, blah, blah. You understand what I'm saying. Without being too deep, that is super, super important because you have to be able to trust yourself. I use the analogy all the time that in life, you're both the coach and the player. And many of us are not very good listeners in terms of listening to the internal coach. And so I absolutely love commandment number 1 here: master thyself or be ruled by another. Number 2, speak truth relentlessly, even unto yourself. Falsehood corrupts the soul. Avoid deception, especially self-deception. Falsehood corrupts the soul. Again, looping this back into everyday means every day. Why am I so big on this? Because when you lie to yourself, you can kid a kid, you can fool a fool, you can con a con, but you can't lie to yourself. You know when you let yourself down. You know. You know when you say something and don't do it. You know when you are incongruent with the identity that you say that you want to have. You know that you're incongruent with the life that you say that you want to have. You say, oh, I want to make $1,000,000 and be successful in this, but you can't go to the gym. But you can't read a book. You can't take a cold shower. You can't master yourself. This is very, very, very closely related to the first commandment that it gave us, right? Master yourself. Speaking truth, first and foremost, is to you. Another thing that I tell people all the time is that when you lie, whether to yourself or to other people, you trust yourself less because you realize how easy reality is to manipulate. And so there was a time in my life, early 20s, late teens, kind of college years, where I was straight up, I was a liar. I was a manipulator. I would hide things from people and, relationships and all sorts of stuff that was just crazy and stupid. And the biggest consequence of that, obviously, it hurt other people. But the biggest consequence was how it hurt me because, and I don't mean that in like a selfish way. I mean that I did not trust myself or anybody else because of my lying. And by the way, neither did the people that I lied to once they figured it out. Like it degrades your trust in reality and it degrades your trust in other people. So I love this commandment. It goes on to say, the courage to face brutal truth is the foundation of wisdom, and denial of reality leads to suffering. I think that's what I just spoke to. I didn't even read that before. So love that. Commandment number 3, embrace suffering as the path to power. Pain is a teacher, not an enemy. Man, how often do we try and relieve pain or avoid pain rather than learning from pain? How much do you think that we miss on a daily basis? How much do we miss out of life? How many insights do we just let go because we're too afraid to learn from the pain? It says hardship reveals strength, avoiding difficulty leads to weakness. Whatever you practice, you get better at. If you practice long suffering, if you practice getting through difficult, adverse situations, you're going to get better at it. If you practice being weak, you're going to get a whole lot better at being weak, and that will become your default setting. Voluntarily face suffering to grow stronger. That voluntarily, that's important too. That's something Peterson talks about a lot as well, is voluntarily confronting the things that you're afraid of, or Goggins talks about this, right? Voluntarily doing difficult things. By the way, the reason that I'm attaching names to some of these things is this is exactly why I wanted to do this, because every great speaker, every great motivator, every great pastor, every great teacher, they're not they're not giving you brand new concepts. They're wrapping a framework that is their own that makes a fundamental and transcendent and everlasting principle come to life and be a little bit more understandable in the modern world. That's what the Eric Thomas's do. That's what Jordan Peterson's and the David Goggins and all the big people in this space, the Jay Shetty's, blah, 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 whoever you want to talk about. This is what they're doing. They're talking about all of the things in here, which I just find so incredibly interesting. This stuff doesn't change. The Bible tells us there's nothing new under the sun. The principles don't change. The messaging and the delivery changes. I find that so interesting. Commandment number 4, create relentlessly. Thou art a builder of worlds. I don't even want to go any further on that. Chapter 1, verse 1 of the Bible. In the beginning, God created. God created. The model is for us to create. I'll leave that there. To exist is to create, whether it is art, business, relationships, or ideas. Leave your mark. Passive consumption leads to decay. Build, innovate, and contribute. The world belongs to creators, not to spectators. The man in the arena. Love it. Number 5, honor the divine and the unknowable. There exists a mystery greater than yourself. Align with it. Call it God, the Tao, the universe. Seek alignment with that which is beyond comprehension. Reject nihilism. Life is sacred. God, that's so important, especially in this day and age. So many people, we try so hard to explain things that oftentimes we lead ourselves further and further away from the truth. It's like, it's this crazy paradox. Like, in pursuit of the ultimate truth, we get ourselves further and further and further and further away from the ultimate truth because we're trying to scienceify. That's not a word, but rock with me. We're trying to scienceify every little thing. And it's so funny. I was reminiscing on Men in Black earlier, right? I saw this thing from Will Smith popped up. Actually, I'm going to find the quote really quick so I can read it to you. This was a quote from Men in Black. This is a movie about aliens, okay, from like forever ago. Some of you will remember this quote from the movie. It says, 1,000 years ago, everybody. Let me give you context. Actually, I'm sorry. I'm excited. This quote is being said right after the protagonist of the movie finds out that aliens exist and the aliens walk amongst us on the earth. Okay, it says, 1,000 years ago, everybody knew the Earth was the center of the universe. 500 years ago, they knew the Earth was flat. 15 minutes ago, you knew we humans were alone on it. Imagine what you'll know tomorrow. It's such a profound piece of wisdom for a freaking movie about aliens, you know? But it's true. Like, imagine what you'll know tomorrow. We come up with all these scientific explanations, and I'm a big believer in science. I think it helps us understand the world that we find ourselves in better, but I don't think that science and theology are oppositional to one another. I think that's such a shallow intellectual view. Because to that quote's point, think of all the scientific facts that we knew 100 years ago. But we knew them based on our current capacity 100 years ago to take certain measurements, to observe certain phenomenon, and then to make conclusions about that data. Our eyes are still closed in the grand scheme of things. Like, scientifically, our eyes will be opened so much more in the next 100 years than they were in the last 100 years because of things like AI and machine learning and quantum computing and all these different things. Like, we're gonna begin to discover more and more and more and more and more things that are going to make today's facts look ridiculous. I mean, it's a guarantee that that's going to happen. And so I just love this idea of honoring the divine and the unknowable, right? Reject nihilism, life is sacred, call it God, Tao, universe, seek alignment with that which is beyond comprehension. This ruthless pursuit of truth takes you further away from it, not closer to it, if you do it wrong. If you do it wrong. So I love this commandment. Number 6, cultivate strength, for the weak are prey. Oh, that one's aggressive. Physical, mental, and spiritual weakness invites destruction. Train the body like a warrior, sharpen the mind like a scholar. The world does not pity the unprepared. Oh, that last part hit hard. The world does not pity the unprepared. I made a video recently talking about how life does not offer concessions or discounts for your troubles. It's just not how it works. It's not, it requires 10,000 hours to become an expert, but because you grew up in foster care, we're going to give you half off. It's going to be 5,000. Like, it's just not how it works, And so I think this is saying seek strength, seek things that force you to get better and understand that the world does not offer concessions for your lack of preparedness, even if your lack of preparedness comes with a phenomenal excuse. Like that's the thing. I think a lot of times people criticize folks in my industry, the peak performance, motivation, whatever you want to call it, coaching industry, and they're like, "Oh, you're just like a bunch of alpha tough guys trying to whatever." It's like, no, I'm trying to do my best to preach what works. And it's not unempathetic. Like I dramatically feel for people who grow up in challenging environments, or not even growing up, but just as adults experience excruciating circumstances. Like that's real. My point is that the world does not care. Your results that you want don't care. Like I'll sit there and talk to you about it all day and offer as much comfort as I possibly can. But your results that you're after, the million in your bank account, the following on social media, the notoriety, the success, the whatever it is that you want, the body, the physique, the transformation, those things don't care. And so while we as humans might care for one another like that, hopefully, and unfortunately a lot of people don't, but the results don't care. That's the point, and that's why you have to cultivate strength for the weak are prey. Number 7, love fiercely but never at the cost of self-respect. Mm. Love is the greatest force, but do not let it blind you to deception. True love elevates, not enslaves. Honor and respect yourself first. This is very similar to what the Bible says about love one another as, and really all religions have this in there somewhere. Love one another as you love yourself. The presupposition there is that you love yourself, which is why this says honor and respect yourself first. Man, that second line is crazy though. True love elevates, not enslaves. True love elevates. This is my argument for Christianity, by the way, and I don't want to take us all the way there in this video, but there's a lot of other belief systems that, and I don't judge anybody based on their beliefs. I've read all the major spiritual books. I think you can learn from all of them. Um, I tend to prefer Christianity even just from a philosophical standpoint because the version of, I'm trying to be careful with my words, the version of love that is portrayed in Christianity is that which is strict yet abundantly graceful and forgiving, whereas many other traditions are more rooted in justice and rule rather than grace. And this says true love elevates, not enslaves. And I think that there's a tie in there that is important that I have not fully thought through, and out of respect for any faiths, I'm not going to go into in this video, um, because that deserves a genuine depth of intellectual analysis, which I cannot currently provide. So those are my thoughts on that. Number 8, expand thy horizon. I like how it's like writing this in like King James English. Expand thy horizons daily. Seek wisdom and skill. He who ceases to grow begins to die. Read, learn, experiment, never settle into complacency. Wisdom compounds over time. Absolutely. I think this is why Christianity speaks of the spirit of the living God. I think that wisdom is alive. I think that wisdom and that's like the ancient Sophia, right? It's wisdom has an embodied spirit in a lot of these ancient ideas, which makes a lot of sense, right? Because wisdom is something that, as this is mentioning, it compounds over time. It's not something that is unalive, because when you leave it and you don't nurture it, it tends to progress towards death. It tends to degenerate over time. Yet, I think when you nourish it over time, it actually compounds upon itself. So I think that makes a whole lot of sense based on just what I've observed. Number 9, build a brotherhood. No man thrives alone. A strong tribe elevates, a weak one destroys. Surround yourself with the powerful, the wise, and the disciplined. Cut out the weak-willed and the envious. Okay, we got a little shout out to the cardinal sins there. Um, yeah, I mean, you hang out with 9 successful people, you'll probably become the 10th. You hang out with 9 broke people, you'll probably become the 10th. Hang out with 9 depressed people, you'll probably become the 10th. 9 happy and optimistic people, you'll probably become the 10th. Again, there's nothing new under the sun. Ecclesiastes tells us this. Like, we know we've heard these things before, but, I think it's good to have it put in different words and synthesized this way. Number 10, live every day as a sacred oath. Life is a contract, every day is a test. The only proof of who you are is your daily action. I promise I haven't read this before. The only proof of who you are is your daily action. Identity is earned, not inherited. That's all I have to say about that. Every day means every day. I could not have ended it, and they did the 10th one. That's the last one. I promise you, I didn't tell ChatGPT to do this. I had not read this until I hit record because I wanted to give you my like genuine first reactions. The only proof of who you are is in your daily action. Identity is earned, not inherited. I'm gonna have to trademark those. That's good brand material right there. I couldn't have done that any better. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. I think it's the coolest thing in the world that you can ask ChatGPT a question like this and it will actually give you an answer. I think that's unbelievable. Final reflection. This synthesis is not just a list of commandments, it is a living framework for human optimization built on psychological resilience, spiritual wisdom, and high performance principles. It refines ancient laws, truth, discipline, and creation into modern context, dopamine addiction, AI, cultural decay. It integrates existentialism, meaning, science, biology of success, and mythology, archetypes of power, into universal truths. It challenges both victimhood and tyranny, promoting radical responsibility while honoring interdependence. If this framework were retained long term, it would serve as a foundation for personal development, leadership training, and global transformation. These are not just laws to obey, they're a battle plan for human mastery. That's it. That's it. That's the end of the video. I can't do any better than that. That's so sick. That's so sick. I'm gonna write a book on this now. This is gonna be my book. The new 10 Commandments. I'm doing it. I'm gonna do it. I would like to write a book on these new 10 commandments. Don't take my idea when this video comes out. I want to be done with the book by the time you even try and take it. Hey, if this was cool, if this was valuable, subscribe, comment which one of these was your favorite, and share this with somebody else, or just go talk to ChatGPT about I don't know what you want to do. Till next time, don't forget, every day means every day. Peace.